I should have done this chapter first, but I didn't. Remember the difference in the text. If I can impart one thing on you, if you see Brimley, Brimley is what should a superintendent know about what the business manager does. What Guthrie would tell you is what does the business manager do. I lean towards Guthrie, and you probably picked up on that because in some districts you have to assume that role. Brimley is more overarching, and Brimley is going to go over more or less, kind of, the business aspects of, of the school community. So I give you the quote and the key concepts. We've talked about a lot of this already, so I can kind of speed through this, which is nice. I cover more of this with the Guthrie text. The one thing that I can say is this is something that Dr. Curry truly, honestly cares about. Her and I were even talking about it at lunch today. I love Dr. Curry. She's one of my favorite human beings in the world. Always wants to talk about work. That's cool. Love work. I love people like that.
Boring for me.
Well, but it's fun for me. So she's very passionate about the community building. So if you care about that, talk with her about it. But this chapter really looks at community buildings and risk management. So why this matters is community relations as superintendent. I would argue that the internal promotions to superintendent, if you can help me design a model for succession planning for superintendents that actually works, you would be advancing your research for the rest of your life, and I never would have to work again a day in my life. They don't exist because superintendents are either one of two things. It's either an internal hire that comes in after the external fails, that's normally what happens, or it's the external that comes in and tries to make sweeping changes and they somehow don't go well. If you are a new central administration hire, you have to know the nuances of the lifers in the district. Those are the people that are the ones that will advance your professional career. Those are the ones that know this is how the district has run, this is how the district has changed, this is how the organization has changed, this is what the district spends money on, this is the athletic programs that matter, this is why swimming matters in our district. I was recording a video before you guys got in here, and I was talking about cutting athletic programs. I worked in the school district that was 2 away from Mario Lemieux's children. Mario Lemieux's our Pennsylvania, he's like the most famous Pittsburgher there is Mario Lemieux. That's our hero, that's our idol, that's, he bought the Penguins, he saved our team, he's everything. Hockey in most districts is an activity pay fee, and it is for most of you guys too, right? Parents have to pay, you don't have to fund, it doesn't come out of the general fund. Hockey in the Lemieux district, it comes out of the general fund. Anybody wants to play hockey, they pay for it, they give them all new equipment, but if I were to be the external superintendent that came from New England, say from Rhode Island, and I come to Pennsylvania and I go to Fox Chapel and I say, I'm going to cut the hockey program and I don't know who Mario Lemieux is, then I'm an idiot. So, you have to think where the internal is in the lifers and who the community people are. That's why Dr. Curry, the first words out of her mouth would be, know the community, then know the organization. I tell you, know the organization and know how the community works within it. And I think that's important. Curry's teaching this class, she's teaching superintendency. First thing she tells you guys is community, know it, know who the power people are, know who the players are, and she's 1,000,000% right on that. So, safety and security, we already talked about this, but I want you to know that obviously elementary schools and preschools are the most vulnerable schools. Schools have a lack of cellular access. Anybody take a class in Oklahoma City ever in that campus? Did you take one yet there? The cell phone does not work there. I've had so many issues with cell phones getting cut off there that it is crazy. So make sure your school has proper cellular access in case there's an emergency. You need security, you need the teachers to be able to prepare it. You also need medical supplies if they're restricted to certain employees. I don't know this because I haven't learned Oklahoma school law yet. In the state of Pennsylvania, only the nurse and the principal could dispense medical supplies. Is that the law in Oklahoma or not?
We can give it to our secretary if the nurse isn't going to be there.
Okay, and the secretary has the right to do it? Okay, and at our districts in Pennsylvania, if the nurse is going to be there, the principal has to be the one that dispenses, or the assistant principal. In Oklahoma, is it like, could a teacher give aspirin out or not? No. Okay. All right.
No, they have to bring that stuff to the nurse.
Okay. Hiring a business manager. This is important. It's good for them to be people from the community. It can be bad for them to be people from the community because they know the businesses, they know the community, they know the stakeholders. This book, this Lewis book, when you guys look at it, what I did, and I'm going to upload the Lewis video probably tomorrow because I haven't filmed it yet. It's the only one I have to film. I'm going to upload the ones that I did for the 3 of you guys that was from the principal class. I went through and I did all the district ones too. I would watch the Lewis video for sure, because it talks about what the school board can and can't do and what the business manager can and can't do in terms of relationships for bids. Cronyism exists in every single system. You all know that. So that's important when you're hiring a business manager, who they're connected to and their connection to the school board. They, in a proper organization, there should be the school board on one end, the superintendent on one end, and the gap between them should be the business manager. If you do your district properly, that's what it should look like. Risk management, this is, once again, this is what Brimley is telling us is important. Staff members should have risk management, evaluate relationships between risk management and cost. Here are the categories. Risk avoidance. Their advice, Brimley's advice was get rid of anything that can be a problem in your district. Get rid of gymnastics, get rid of scuba diving, get rid of trampolines, get rid of potentially hazardous activities. I love South Park. I would advise you to watch the Sarcastable episode at some point. Because, if you cut out things in schools, that can kind of be a problem. We can't hit, football can't be football anymore, running can't be running anymore. You got to be careful with that stuff. I mean, I don't know. I think kids should be kids, but I think there's also, how far do you go in risk avoidance? I think that's district specific, but I also think it's stakeholder specific as well. I don't have a right answer for it. I would lean on the loosey-goosey side until something happened, then I would probably be the crazy psycho. But that would be my approach. You all have different leadership styles. Risk control are things that are required. Science labs, wood, metal, and auto shops, and there should be inspections towards them. Playground and gym equipment. One of the things that I used to do for my early childhood teaching position, I would actually have students go in and analyze playground equipment. In Pennsylvania, playground equipment cannot be more than 6 foot tall. It's not permitted in the state of Pennsylvania in an elementary school, unless it was grandfathered in from a previous building in construction. But any new school, playground equipment cannot be more than 6 foot tall, so we're looking at, like 5 inches above me. So that's all that it can be, just for safety. So that's something that you have to consider, different potential hazards for it. Waivers signed through parents. I don't know. Sometimes they're legal, sometimes they're not. If it's a waiver for a school activity, I think you're a fool to do the school activity. Meaning, if the parent is signing a waiver for them to do a lab, I can see that being a massive legal liability. But if it's a parent signing a waiver for them to do a extracurricular activity after school, that's different. Because the parent gives and expresses the rights, and extracurricular is a choice. Biology class, a science class, something like that isn't a choice. So I question the rights of waivers on that. It's another thing with, here's something else I did with technology. I had to go into our district's Bio 2 class. We had Bio 2 and AP Bio at the district, and I had to pick software that was appropriate for dissections for people that didn't want to do the dissections. And that was unbelievably costly. Like, it cost the district a lot of money. But I looked at it for risk aversion. It was a good move, because what if somebody said, well, this violates my human rights by having to do dissection, yet in the biology curriculum it says, must dissect a pig or a cat. I would never be there for the cat dissection. That would break my heart and kill me. Risk retention, you have to evaluate whether risks are ultimately worth it. You have to have a dependent cost. If I was teaching this in a business law class, I would refer you to the Ford Pinto. What do we know about the Ford Pinto?
Terrible car.
Yeah, it was a horrible car. What was wrong with it?
Blew up.
The gas tank was where?
In the back?
Yeah, the gas tank was in the very rear so that it could hold more, and it border on the side and the back. The car blew up very frequently if it was in a crash, and it caused damage. What was a human life worth according to the 2010 census? I might have went over this in org. What's a human life worth? And don't say it's priceless. Of course, what would a financial consultant tell you the average human life is worth in 2010?
A few million?
$256,000. Okay? So a company dealing with risk aversion would ask you, risk retention, would that Ford Pinto changing the part of it, would it be worth the risk? Would it be worth the risk retention? I'll give you another example. Some of you know I have a Saturn Sky. It's my baby. If that would have been the one that crashed, we would have just canceled class for the entire term because I would have been crying like crazy.
We would have ended up having to buy a new damn sports car.
Thank you, honey.
Yeah.
Wish you know that.
I've accepted it.
Maybe I would have got my Audi then. But
No.
so Okay,
Not-
fair enough, okay. So they had to put an interlock on the Saturn Sky that was a recall. It was a $1,500 interlock that we just had to get the car changed over for the keys. So the only thing I'm thinking in my mind is, geez, if this car wrecks, because it's out of warranty coverage now, I mean, it's an older car, I am so in bad shape. But they had to do it, but they paid for everybody who still had a Sky to do it. So I relate that to schools and risk retention, because some of these risks might not be worth it for the school. So if the loss is going to be small, if something is going to be stolen or something, you need to decide whether or not the risk is worth it. Insurance, what should insurance be? This is what Brimley, who's telling you, what a superintendent should know about finance, you should know. You should have insurance for loss of life, criminal actions, property destruction or damage, liability of school personnel toward action, and personal welfare of school employees. I would, coming from the background I did, but then again, remember, union state, school personnel toward action would have been the highest one in my district. There would have been a ton because of problems with that. School board responsibility. The school board can protect public funds and property, and they have a legal responsibility to protect. But as Lewis is going to teach you in here, 66% is all that's required of voting rights for taxes to be levied against property in this state. Some other states it's 75%. And you might not know this. How many of you have a career and technical center in your school district where it's an actual CTC? If 50% of the voting population vote for an improvement to a CTC, it's permitted. They have more voting rights in the state of Oklahoma than a school district does, and they have more privilege in terms of purchases and taxes levied. The reason being is that most people that go and work at a CTC in Oklahoma end up, if you go to CTC in Oklahoma and you get trained on do something, you're probably going to stay and work in Oklahoma. So Lewis will tell you there's more tax incentives on CTCs than there are on public schools. I'm shocked by that. But that's something the school board can protect public funds, but if you're at a CTC, it's going to be more protected. So different kind of insurance. Obviously fire insurance is huge here. Depending on tornado or earthquake insurance, sometimes you have to make decisions based on that if you're even able to get it, depending on the district. The rates are increasing through the roof, but insurance needs really, you've got to figure out what you think is worth it. If you know that something's valuable and you know what the replacement cost is, you know it's going to depreciate to, it's almost worth it to insure it. If you don't, if it's going to depreciate at a rate that's so rapid, it ain't worth it. Technology. I would not insure desktop computers. I think it is a waste of your money. If somebody stole 5 of them, you write that off as a loss, you say, whoop-de-doo. Now, maybe a smart board or a projector, I would insure the projector. I would get a warranty on a projector, because if a projector breaks, you're looking at a $1,000 replacement. Computer breaks, you're looking at a $200 replacement. You can do co-insurance and share the risk. The problem is sometimes the company can claim items with that. I would say extended coverage, it depends on what the item is, depends on what the bond indenture is as well, and we're going to go over that a little bit more. They tell you, self-insurance options. I think that's district specific as well. Liability insurance, common law states, it turns into an increase on district employees at the district expense for the immunity principle. So the district employees have to actually, you're taking insurance out on them, and you're taking liability insurance out on them, and the district has to pay for that. We have the Pennsylvania State Education Association in Pennsylvania, and Florida has the FSEA, and they have to have a $250,000 policy on every highly qualified teacher. Does Oklahoma have something similar to that for insurance, liability insurance? I'm asking, like I said, I'm learning with you guys on some of this stuff. But you have to notify that, there could be an immunity principle. I'd be interested. I couldn't find anything in Lewis on that. So last chapter is human resources that I'm going to cover in Brimley. So I will go ahead and do that, then we'll take a quick break.